We are back. Welcome to the Yoked podcast.
Hello. All right.
I am Casey.
And I'm Jermaine.
And this is the Yoked podcast where we are building covenant marriages through love and laughter.
Yes, we are.
Yes, doing our best to do it. Speaking of,
we'll build marriages.
And do it.
And do it.
We'll tell you about that later. Yes, we will. So we are going to do a quick recap because we have some special guests today. Since the last episode, we've had kind of like a gap between our episodes because the world has literally kind of imploded, caught on fire, all of those things. So it's just been,
is tripping.
Yeah, 2020 is like taking Jumanji to another level. Mm-hmm. So there have been a lot of things going on. The biggest thing, and not trying to shy away from it, but there has been kind of like a reckoning coming about over, racial injustice and trying to move towards racial reconciliation. So Jermaine has been busy kind of working with our minister and our church to address some of the things that have been going on and have not been going on within the church. And also on that note, I have launched a new podcast with my friend Cara of the Modern Woman of Virtue movement. The new podcast is called For Church Girls Only. It is available now on Anchor FM. And our first episode that's out is called For Our White Church Girl Sisters, talking to our to white women in the church and expressing what can be done to help move forward towards racial reconciliation. So that it's a really good episode. And I'm not saying that because I recorded it, but it's a really good episode. So I would definitely want to encourage you to check that out on Anchor. Also, we have a marriage workshop coming up called United, and we have information about that on our Facebook page. If you know us personally, it's on our personal pages, and that workshop will be starting July 13th. So it's a 9-week course that is for people who are kind of needing a boost in their marriage and, needing to figure out ways to come back together and get back to the strong foundational marriage that we started with. So that's going on.
Good stuff.
So, all right. So you want to say anything else before we jump into it?
Probably not.
No? Okay. No. So today we are talking about the road to infidelity. We have our special guests, Harold Allen and Anitra Durand Allen of Mom on the Move. So we're going to bring them in and get this party started. Hi, there's our friends. It's Anitra and Harold, and we're happy to see you.
Yay, we're happy to be here.
Song and dance.
I always have a song and dance. So this is Harold Allen and Anitra Durand Allen. She is from Mom on the Move. She's got some other places, and she'll tell you about that in just a second. But Anitra and I have been blogging buddies and real friends for a while now. There are 3 counselors in this conversation. And Harold, who is going to be subjected to our foolishness today.
You'll be all right.
Yes, we are here to make sure that you will be all right. So,
you be or not.
So as we get started, can y'all kind of reintroduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about you and what you do and all of that stuff?
Would you like to go first?
No, please.
Age before beauty, age and beauty at the same time? I'm older than him. Okay, so my name is Anitra Durand Allen. I blog at the Mom on the Move, where I help busy moms get more done in less time with less stress. I am also a master level intern in marriage and family therapy, where I will be offering services to couples and families, particularly those of African American descent and in the Black community. And I'm a certified Christian life coach where I offer relationship, family, and communication coaching at Your Blissful Family or blissfulfamily.us, where I help people say what they really mean to the people in their lives that matter the most. And as Catherine said, we met in this blogging influencer thought leader space and have been great friends because we share lots of similarities, including our love and devotion for our husband.
Yes. As both of the guys are like, whatever.
Okay.
Something to, butter him up a little bit.
It's a mushy moment of the week. Okay.
Right. One mushy moment a month is all I get.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Harold, do you want to add anything to that? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Harold Allen. I've been married to the lady here on my right for 18 years.
Nice.
18 wonderful years.
Nice.
I am not a therapist. I am not a counselor. I'm not any of those things. I have a degree in finance from Indiana University. I have an MBA from DePaul, and I currently work for a rural cell phone company where I manage the IT department and work with the executive team on strategic initiatives.
Okay. So pretty much I heard math.
Basically.
Yes.
I have one of my feet in the data and technology IT world too. So, but I'm still trying to get both feet in the counseling world.
Okay, I'm sorry. Our son is vacuuming in the background.
Like,
that noise.
We can't hear anything, so
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Yeah. Just let it happen.
Okay, so before we dive into this conversation, I want to play a quick game, and we've never done anything like this before. So just kind of a little lighthearted but serious trivia, I guess.
Trivia.
So
Very ready.
I'm going to ask a question, and what we are answering is this particular thing cheating or not? And you are allowed to defend your answer if you feel like it needs to be defended. Okay? So, all right.
Okay.
Let's do it. First question.
I'm not going to look at the question.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay.
I got one for you.
What?
No, you go ahead.
My God.
Yes, we are going there. Yes, we're going there.
Okay.
I kind of feel like I already have this question on the page because I remember a conversation. Okay. First question. Is it cheating to keep pictures of your ex? Okay.
What kind of pictures?
Okay, so full disclosure, we got into a fight because I had pictures of my ex where he was shirtless because he was exercising and somebody took pictures of him. But the caveat, I didn't know I had the picture. He found it. I didn't even know it was in the house.
And I wasn't looking for the picture. I was actually helping her look for something else. And it's like, oh.
Yes.
What is this?
I didn't even know I had the picture, but there was a big fight, and I totally understood where he was coming from because it looked like
different place, different time. Different place, different time, different people. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
We love each other. We love each other.
Okay.
I mean, just think about I had a picture of one of my exes, topless.
In the bed?
But I mean, that is definitely different. That is absolutely different. Because it wouldn't have been a picture of her doing push-ups, putting her boobs on the floor. That would have been different.
Could have been. Okay. Okay.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not cheating, but I do understand the issue because I too have pictures of an ex topless. in the bed, actually, no less. And I'm not even really sure why I didn't get rid of them, because there's nothing there.
Yeah, and see, and that's what I was telling you why I still had the picture, because I remember thinking maybe he'll want these pictures back, because when we broke up, I was like, this is not my property. I don't want to destroy it. So I'll just hold on to it so I can give it back. But I totally forgot that I had it.
No, it was mine. I mean, it was my picture. I took it. I just don't remember why I didn't get rid of it. And it was developed too, because I mean, this was back in the day when digital cameras didn't exist. So
yeah, mine was developed.
I purposefully held on to it. Still don't think it's cheating, because it wasn't with the intent of reminiscing. I don't know. I'm not sure why I didn't get rid of it, but no. We all said no, so we can move on, right?
Yes. Okay. Is it cheating if someone goes out of their way to bring your spouse a home-cooked meal or pastry to work?
Wait, someone else goes out of their way to bring me something?
Yes.
Consistently. Can I do like maybe?
I was going to say, okay. I'm going to say maybe.
Okay. So yeah. So mine is on both sides. So cheating? No.
That was the question.
Flirting? Yes. 100%.
Okay, but see, this is the question. We're not talking about the other person. We're talking about like our spouse. Like, are they cheating? Like, so I don't think it's cheating if they bring an item, but if the spouse knows that this particular person has a thing for them, and they're saying, and they're allowing this behavior to happen, then that's where I have the problem.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's going out of your way to bring your favorite donut every Friday.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what if it's like my favorite dessert though?
That's the whole point.
Why does she know what your favorite dessert is?
Favorite dessert. Why does she know what your favorite dessert is? And why does she believe that it's okay to bring you your favorite dessert at work? What does she want from you?
It's part of the HR getting to know you campaign where they asked employees to say what's your favorite stuff, and that's how she knows.
Okay, but who bought you that full blown Chicago Bears barbecue set?
You did that, baby.
I did not. I didn't buy that.
Oh, I don't know who bought that. Who bought that?
I don't know. You came home with it as a Christmas gift.
Oh, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Next question.
Sure.
Okay.
No, wait, before we move on though, because we'll have this conversation later. Especially if you know the motivation.
Yeah.
It's not cheating, but it's a gateway and it opens the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, this particular gift set was given to me by a married woman as a work Christmas exchange thing she happened to know my favorite football team was Chicago Bears.
Why? Do you know what your favorite stuff is? Okay.
I avoid that by just allowing my entire team to purchase me a large gift.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm cheating on her with 30 people.
But the woman who brings him red velvet donuts every time she gets donuts because she knows that's his favorite donut.
Yeah.
Bring me some red velvet donuts then.
Red velvet donuts.
Cook some chitlins.
Yeah.
Provide me with the things that I like, and you won't have to worry about other people.
Really?
You could have. I'm a this thing, but come back to yeah, I got you. Right. I used to eat chitlins, but I've since been delivered.
I ain't making no damn chitlins. What's next?
Okay. Is it cheating if you give somebody a church hug that lasts too long?
Who's giving the hug?
Okay, a church hug. Let's demonstrate for the people who do not understand what a church hug is.
No, we're not talking about like the side church hug. I'm talking about the one where she come up to you, be like, "Hey, Brother Jermaine," like full frontal body, like embrace.
You mean a hug at church?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are different.
What's the question?
Is it cheating if you stand in the embrace, in the full body embrace of the church hug?
Stand in the embrace.
Yes. If you don't be like.
Okay. Here we go. This is my answer.
Stand in the embrace. Okay. It's like basking in the ambiance.
So my answer is no.
You got to.
I put up yes.
I put a yes a long time ago. My answer is no, unless you respond physiologically.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's something I need to. Well, the person needs to say, stop.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, okay. And it may require a physical separation of get away.
Yeah. That's what I meant by stand in the embrace. Like if she damn near done straddled you, like I'm gonna need her to get back.
In the foyer, that's public.
Yeah. Yes. Anywhere.
Stranger things have happened.
True. Okay.
Okay. Okay, last question. Is it cheating if y'all have a show that y'all are watching together and then one person watches episodes behind the other person's back? Y'all are selfish. Y'all are just absolutely selfish. That's all I selfish.
We don't do a lot.
I don't want to watch this show, huh?
So we don't do a lot of TV, but the TV that we do, we watch it together. So, I mean, we didn't say marital infidelity. We just said cheating.
Yes.
You cheating.
This one keeps the TV on 24/7. There is something streaming all the time. She can watch 28 episodes of SVU, Law and Order, in 3 days. How am I supposed to compete with that? I only watch TV when I'm actually like physically doing nothing else. Like I don't watch TV while I'm working. So there's very limited stuff.
Nothing to do with
there's a very limited amount of stuff I can watch. And when I run out of stuff to watch that she doesn't want to watch, what am I left with?
That has nothing to do with anything.
Something new that you watch together.
Okay. So
I hope y'all enjoyed that.
All jokes and games aside, we are here to talk about the road to infidelity, because I think that this isn't a topic that we kind of see, a situation we see where people are like, I don't know what happened. Like just one day it happened. And I don't believe that at all. I think that there are things that happen where, it's like, oh, I don't know what happened. Next thing I know, we were sleeping together. But there are steps that lead up to like physical infidelity. So we wanted to talk about kind of what happens in life and in relationships that lead to, or that can lead to something like that. And we wanted to have y'all on because Anitra, you gave a talk in a private group. You told your story about this. And I just really wanted people to kind of hear from both of you, because anytime that there is infidelity, and back up by saying there was not infidelity. It didn't happen.
I beg to differ.
We'll let you explain it. But like when people think of infidelity, they automatically think sex.
Bumping uglies.
Yeah. Wow, I haven't heard that in forever. Bumping uglies. Okay.
Doing a wild thing, doing a dude.
No, there was none of that.
Right. There was not sexual intercourse. So when I say that there was no infidelity, I mean that in this situation there was no sexual intercourse. But what we'll talk about, for this episode is what infidelity really is and what it can be. And understanding that it doesn't have to be physically intimate for it to be infidelity. So before we jump into that, I just wanted to ask Anitra, like, why did you feel like you needed to tell your story, and like how you were able to move forward and saying, hey, I'm going to share this because.
So, as I shared, I am a master level intern in marriage and family therapy. And what that really means is I am practicing therapy while I'm also earning my degree. Mm-hmm. And this, the first year in my degree program was eye-opening for a number of reasons, and helped me realize why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I started my career in engineering. I spent 15 years in engineering and IT project management, and totally walked away from it in 2014 with the full support of my husband, because my life was miserable and I hated it. And now that I am doing this second career part of my life, I'm realizing that all of the experiences that I have are not coincidental. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that everything that we go through is adding to our ability to serve the population to whom we are assigned, to serve the people that God has placed in our way, that we're supposed to touch and that we're supposed to impact. And while there are a number of things that we'll share about this situation and how it came about and how I found myself in this situation, that while I do recognize in hindsight the steps that got me there, in the moment I was like, whoa, how did I end up here? But that was basically so that, for a number of reasons, and ultimately I'm sharing my story because it's a part of my journey in serving those that I'm called to lead, and a part of my journey in serving those who I'm called to help and to assist. And being in that situation myself gives me the experiential perspective to provide true empathy, but also to walk through it with them so that they can identify what happened, what can and needs to change, and how to get there.
Awesome. That's awesome. Do you want to say? No? Okay. Your reasoning for being in counseling is so very similar to his reasoning.
So I used to be an engineer too. Well, still kind of am. And then I was, still kind of am. It's what pays the bills, but more in the nonprofit world. But still, I'm probably maybe 2-3 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
So
kind of the same story. So I love that you brought to the forefront that when things happen to us and we find ourselves in certain situations, that it's for a reason. Like, there's no coincidence in the things that we go through and that we kind of endure. And I tell people all the time that our tests and trials are a testimony for someone else. Like, it's not about us. Like, we're going to go through things and endure and survive things so that we can help somebody else who is coming behind us. So again, I really appreciate y'all, being here and taking the time to talk to us about this, talk with us about it. So when I listened to the talk, I pulled a few key points that you made, and I just wanted to kind of like address those from like a couple's perspective. One thing that you talked about was the idea of letting too much slide when it comes to each other and friendships, and how that can kind of open the door for things and people and situations to come in between you. And you talked about a friend in particular who was kind of dealing with a similar experience, and how their perspective kind of affected your perspective on this. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Not in too much detail because she didn't agree to let me put her.
Right.
But yeah, the power of suggestion is stronger than we think.
Mm-hmm.
And being in that space and having those conversations, understanding and empathizing with her situation and her comfort with that choice because of our friendship and because I didn't want her to be unhappy and because I had been through all of the challenges that she had experienced that led to this and kind of rode through that with her and understood where she was. And not that I agreed with it, and she knows that I don't agree with it. And I don't even agree with what happened in my own marriage. But the idea that this thing is possible, and it was kind of hanging over my head a little bit at the time that all of these things went down. The power of suggestion is stronger than you think. Just be careful what you let into your space. Be careful what you let into your mind. Be careful what you let into your heart. The Bible tells us to guard our heart because it is the wellspring of life, and whatever we let into the inside will ultimately come up on the outside in one way or another, whether it is our attempt to fight it and not to allow those things to take over, or whether it is our inability to fight it and we succumb to those thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
I have I talk like, our whole brand is yoked, like being equally yoked. And a lot of times, I'll say the majority of the time when we use that word in the biblical sense, we're talking about like being equally yoked in marriage. And a lot of times we don't, like you said, guarding your heart, we don't apply that same principle of being equally yoked when it comes to friendships and, other relationships and business relationships. And, not telling who it is, but like I had a friend, she's a friend of a friend who, who her spouse was spending time around people who were having like full-blown affairs, and they were all okay with having full-blown affairs, so that when her spouse decided, I want to have an affair, they were like, yeah, let's do this, bring her around, we want to get to know this other woman. And him being in a circle and being surrounded with people who were of the mindset that this is totally okay. It's fine if you're not happy to just go out and be with somebody else. If your needs are not being met at home, go find somebody else, bring her around us. We'll welcome her in. And it's just kind of like, part of protecting your marriage is saying, no, this is not okay. I'm not going to associate with people who believe that this is okay, and protecting your marriage from that way. Because like you said, if you let it kind of get into your mind and into your heart, you're going to start acting on those feelings and emotions.
Yeah. All the devil has to do is plant the seed. And then, factors just contribute to the growth of that seed. And as long as we continue to feed it, it'll continue to grow.
Yeah. And then there was something else that you brought up, and it made me think about like, some of the conversations that we had where you said that Harold, he wasn't like really worried about like other things and other people. And I don't think that we've had, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not worried about this because I know you, I trust you. But you've been very outspoken on, especially early on in our marriage, very outspoken on, I don't want you, talking to this dude. I don't like when you're around this dude because he wants something more from you. Like, he was very vocal about that.
Yeah. And I was, because one, I've been through this already. So I've been married once before, and my wife then cheated on me. And so I understand the importance of speaking up. Yet I also understand the importance of allowing my spouse to be who they are. And so balancing the two was something I had to get used to. And so in the beginning, I was like, okay, I trust my wife, but I know that dude he's trying to do something. And so it would be wise of me to just say to her, hey, this guy wants more than a friendship. He wants more than the church hug. He does. And I know this because
he wants to stand in the embrace.
He wants to stand in the embrace.
Yes, he wants to stand in the embrace. He wants to break bread. He wants to do all types of other things I'm not going to say on this podcast.
So I didn't know how honest we could be, or how unfiltered we could be.
Oh yeah.
There's a statement that, and I don't remember who I heard it from, one of my social media friends, that men only do things for cash, or the other word that kind of sounds like cash but starts with an A.
Honey, say it. It's
ass or cash. Like, I mean, that's really what they want out of a situation. So, yeah, and I kind of agree with that. And I really kind of want to let Harold talk to that, because we've had that conversation. Because the particular person with whom I was unfaithful, I picked it up before he did, initially, in our interaction. And I even brought it to him, like, I don't really like the way he kind of interacts with me. So I want to give him the opportunity to speak to, how he felt about that and why he made some of the choices of not to engage and how to interact, I guess.
Okay. No, I think there are multiple factors. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think there are multiple factors. The first being overconfidence or complacency. I mean, we've been at this for damn near 20 years. So, most marriages ended, 15 years before this, right?
Right.
So at this point, it's not something I'm really looking for, thinking about, expecting. I know my wife's an attractive woman. I know, old men hit on her at the gas station. I know.
That was very uncomfortable. That was very uncomfortable when my grandfather told me he wanted to put me in his coffee because brown sugar is sweeter. Did not like that. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't my grandfather, but he could have been. Like, that's how old he was. And he thinks that's funny. And I'm like, dude, no, I don't like that. But anyway, go ahead. I'm
sorry. So to that end, it's not really something that, I particularly was on the watch out for. I'm glad that men find her attractive. That just validates everything I already know. Right. So, so that's the first part of it. The second part is, because I've never been that guy, coming off as jealous husband, right? If I don't have anything to worry about, then why would I, fly off the handle? Why would I react in a certain way? Why would I try to, why would I behave in a manner that would appear to make me jealous when I know there's nothing to worry about? Right. So, so those are kind of the first two things. And, then, playing into that, while I'm not the jealous type and I'm not the jealous husband, I do have certain feelings and personality traits. And, we had entered a phase where, we weren't communicating well. We weren't on the same page. And it was kind of different than, maybe previous episodes, as it were. And then the one thing that I hate is being compared to somebody else. And so I've been married to you for almost 20 years. You can't tell me squat about what some other dude did. I don't care how he looks at you. I don't care if he bought you something. That don't mean shit to me. Pardon my French. And so, when there are points in times where we had miscommunications, arguments, disagreements, and she would say things to me like, well, I wish you would be more like such and such. That, for me, that's a big F you.
Yeah.
So, so that just, makes me further retreat, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to kind of, we've kind of talked around this a little bit, to kind of put it out there. I was dealing with a significant number of challenges at the time when this occurred. I had been dealing with the grief from the loss of I hadn't been dealing with the grief from the loss of my father, which really affected the way Harold and I were communicating in a major way. I was taking up all of the emotional space in our family and didn't really give anyone else an opportunity to express themselves, express their feelings, deal with their own grief because they were so worried about me. We weren't communicating well, which wasn't necessarily a brand new thing, but in the space of being so emotionally depleted and devoid of anything that was feeding me because of where I was emotionally and in my depression, which was a very real, actual thing that I was dealing with from the loss of my father. Like even the little drops of whatever he was making, big gestures, felt like nothing at all. Because I was so emotionally depleted, I was so empty that there was almost nothing he could do that made me feel any better. And so while I'm not using that as an excuse, and I really don't even like to talk about that a lot when I have this conversation, which hasn't been often, but probably will be more moving forward, because I don't want to make that an excuse. It doesn't absolve me from any of the decisions that I made, and it doesn't excuse or validate or justify any of the decisions that I made or actions that I took, but it does color the situation and it brings context to the situation. As we talk about the road to infidelity, one of the things that happened for us was that I was not able to check my own mental and emotional health, and that caused a chasm between us.
Right.
And in that moment, the chasm between the two of us, I thought was being filled by the actions of someone outside of our marriage.
Right.
Sorry.
So, Harold, you brought up the word complacency, and I think that a lot of us, like, that's the easiest thing for us to kind of slip into, and it doesn't matter if you've been married, for a year or 18 years or 30 years. Like, it's very easy for us to become complacent and get on like autopilot mode because things are going well, things are running smoothly, things are the way they're supposed to be. So we just kind of keep going without like reflecting or having that check-in to see like where we really are, like mentally and emotionally in our marriages and within ourselves. And because of that, it can happen to anybody's marriage. And we were talking about this, and I told him that I almost came into our marriage with the mindset that I really could kind of like sit back and just be married, because I didn't have to worry about him ever cheating on me, because he had been cheated on before and he knew how it felt. And because he had experienced that emotion, that was enough to secure our marriage. Like, I really wasn't going to have to do anything else. Yeah. And he just kind of looked at me. He was like, so what would have happened if you did continue thinking like that? And I was like, probably wouldn't be good. But like Anitra, you already kind of touched on like having unaddressed like emotional and mental and even spiritual needs, like these things aren't being met.
I said physical needs also, and I don't mean just sex, right? Like, we three know money and sex are the main reason people have relationship distress, right? When your physical needs aren't being met, when your emotional needs aren't being met, when your spiritual needs aren't being met in the relationship the way that you think they should be, it opens the door. It cracks it just enough that given the right opportunity, something can come in.
Life transition is the opportunity.
Yeah. And so this is, and I want to kind of move towards like the emotional side of it, because I think what the stereotype is that women cheat because they aren't having their emotional needs met, and men cheat because they're not having their physical needs met. Like, women are sexual creatures. Like, we still need to have sex. Men have emotions. Like, men have emotions. They feel things, so it's not like, that's a stereotype I think that gets a lot of people in trouble. But talking about the danger of establishing emotional connections with people who are not your spouse. So he had, and I'm not like trying to like drag your dirt up, but it's something that we haven't talked about a lot, like in public. But in his first marriage, there were some things that he could have done differently. Like, I think, there are extenuating circumstances, and I kind of feel like she was just going to do what she was going to do anyway. But there were things that you could have done differently that may have turned your marriage around.
Yeah.
But one of the things that, he talked about when we were friends, like when we had first met, he was saying that his ex-wife had a problem with one of his coworkers because they were really, really good friends. And after like meeting this coworker and seeing their interactions, like, my response was, hell, I would have thought you were cheating with her too. Like, I don't want you being friends with her. I was like, I wouldn't be comfortable with it, because it was an emotional connection. Even though there was nothing going on, it was still something that kind of like, it was very detrimental to your first marriage, because you had established this close connection with someone else.
Yeah. And in my mind, I was like, okay, where am I going to put this emotion? It has to go somewhere. It's there. There's an emotional need there, and my wife ain't doing it. So where else am I going to put it? It has to go somewhere. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it landed.
Hey, so this is the first part of this conversation. We had to break it up into two parts because the conversation with Anitra and Harold was so good that we kind of talked for a little while longer than we planned to.
Yeah. About a longer.
Yes, but it was an amazing conversation, and it is going to continue on next week's episode. So make sure that you follow us, hit the button to subscribe, make sure you like us, so that when we go live with the part 2 of the Road to Infidelity episode, you're the first to be notified. We'll see you then.